Let's learn how to do present value and net present value using Microsoft Excel. The first question asks us to figure out what the present value of $161.05 would be, and if we received that $161.05 5 years from now, assuming we earned a 10% rate of return if we had invested the money. So again, what is the present value, today's value, of that $161.05 that we'd receive 5 years from now, assuming we had invested today's value at a rate of 10% interest? Okay, let's compute the present value of a future investment using Microsoft Excel. So let me go over to Microsoft Excel and share my screen. Grab my Excel screen and hit share. Okay, you should see my Excel screen. So I'm just going to click in a box. And I want to use a present value function. So if I hit insert function and I hit PV, I should get present value, and it popped up right here, PV. So I'm going to double click that. And in this example, we said we had a 10% rate of return. We had 5 periods. We don't have anything in the payment, but we had 161.05 is our future value. We want to discount that back to today's dollars. If I hit OK, I get a value of negative $100. Now, in this case, in the case of present value and future value, you're always going to get either the opposite sign of what you put in as the future value or the present value. So if I go in here and I put a negative in here as my future value, then I will get my accurate present value of $100. Let's evaluate an investment using net present value. So in this example, let's assume the investment is of $600 and returns annual cash flows of $161.05 for 5 consecutive years. The discount rate that we'll use to discount our cash flows back to today's dollars will be 10%. So we'll enter a formula into Excel using the net present value function. We'll enter the interest rate, the stream of cash flows, and we will then subtract our investment to figure out what the net present value, the difference between the present value and the investment, is after 5 years. Now let's look at the net present value of a series of cash inflows, future cash inflows that we will compare against a current value or, for example, an investment, and we'll compare that investment with the future cash inflows that it brings in that we will discount back to today's value, and we will net them together to find a net present value. And this is a way to evaluate investments. Let's take a look at Excel. Let me share my screen, and let's go back to that Excel page that we were on. And we're going to use a formula called net present value. Rather than click on f of x of here, I can also just insert my function myself if I want to. So for example, let me go in here and say NPV for net present value, okay? And then put some bracket around it, and I can see what I need to enter. I need to enter my interest rate, my discount rate, and then the values that I will return in this case. So my discount rate we said was 10%. So I'll put 0.1 in there. And then we were returning 161.05 annually for 5 years. So I'm just going to copy that and go copy that again. Copy. And then 2, 3, 4, year 5. Okay. So that's going to return my net present value. I could hit enter and I get $110.51. Now my net present value subtracts the investment. In this case, at the end I'll put minus 600 is my initial investment. So if I net that return, present value of those returns into today's dollars, subtract the investment, I get a net present value of $10.51. So I can compute net present value quite quickly in Microsoft Excel.